The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Yuna stood at the center, her silver robes flowing around her like liquid metal. Above her, 12 council members sat on floating thrones, their alien faces showing no emotion. But she could feel their fear. It filled the room like a poison. "The humans must be destroyed," her brother Hunwa said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The ancient laws are clear. No forbidden species shall take root among the stars." Yuna looked at the holographic display floating before the council. It showed a single ship drifting at the edge of their space. The Last Dawn, they called it. Inside that ship were 50,000 humans, the last of their kind. Their home planet had been destroyed centuries ago, and they had wandered the void ever since, searching for a place to live. "They are refugees," Yuna said calmly. "They come to us hungry and tired. They ask only for a small world where they can grow food and raise their children." "They ask for death," Hyunwoo replied. "They simply do not know it yet." He turned to the council, his golden eyes burning with conviction. "Our ancestors classified humans as a forbidden species for a reason. The records are sealed, yes, but the warning remains. We cannot allow them to settle among us." The council members whispered to each other. Yuna could see they were afraid. Nobody remembered why humans were forbidden. That knowledge had been lost or hidden long ago. But the fear remained, passed down through generations like a disease. "If we destroy them," Yuna said, "we become murderers of 50,000 innocent souls." Is that what the Valari Empire stands for now? The killing of children and old people who have done nothing wrong? "They are forbidden," Hyunwoo repeated, as if those words explained everything. Yuna took a deep breath. She had prepared for this moment. She knew her brother would never show mercy. She knew the council was too afraid to think clearly, so she had to offer them something else. Something that would satisfy their fear while saving the humans from death. "I propose an alternative," she said. Her voice was steady, but her heart was beating fast. "A marriage alliance." The room went completely silent. Even Hyunwoo seemed frozen. "I will take a human husband," Yuna continued. "Our fates will be bound together by the ancient rites. If the humans ever betray us, I will die with them. And if we ever betray the humans, they will have the right to wage war against us." "You cannot be serious," Hyunwoo whispered. "I am completely serious." Una looked at the council. "This way we keep control. We watch them closely, and we do not become murderers." The council debated for 3 hours. Yuna stood still through all of it, never showing weakness. Finally, the eldest council member raised his hand for silence. "The proposal is accepted," he said. "Princess Yuna will marry a human male. The alliance will bind both species. May the stars have mercy on us all." The shuttle that carried Yuna to the human ship was cold and gray. Her handmaiden Nari sat beside her, trembling with fear. "Princess, please reconsider," Nari begged. "Nobody knows what humans are capable of. The old stories say terrible things about them. The old stories are just stories," Yuna said. But she was not entirely sure of her own words. The Last Dawn was not what she expected. From outside, it looked like a dying beast, its metal skin scarred and burned from centuries of travel. But inside, it was warm and alive. The walls were covered with paintings and photographs. Children ran through the hallways laughing. Old people sat in gardens filled with green plants. They looked so normal, so harmless. An old man named Minho greeted her at the entrance. His hair was white and his back was bent, but his eyes were sharp and clear. "Princess Yuna," he said, bowing slightly, "we are honored by your visit and by your sacrifice." "It is not a sacrifice," Yuna said. "It is a choice." Minho smiled sadly. "Sometimes those are the same thing." He led her to a large room where dozens of human men stood waiting. They were of all ages and sizes. Some looked strong and fierce. Others looked gentle and kind, but none of them stepped forward. "You may choose any of them," Minho said. "Whoever you select will become your husband and our representative to your empire." Yuna walked among them slowly. She looked into their eyes, searching for something. She did not know what. Courage, perhaps? Or honesty. Most of them looked away when she met their gaze. They were afraid. She could not blame them. This marriage could mean death for whoever was chosen. Then she saw him. He stood at the back of the room, separate from the others. He was tall and lean, with dark hair and dark eyes. His face was calm. He did not look away when she approached. He did not show fear. But there was something else in his eyes. Something deep and heavy, like the weight of 1,000 years. "What is your name?" Yuna asked.
"Taiho," he said.
His voice was quiet but steady. "Why do you stand apart from the others?" Taiho was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Because I was going to volunteer. I did not want to wait to be chosen. You would volunteer for this. You could die." "Everyone dies eventually," Taiho said. "But if my death can save 50,000 lives, it will have meaning." Yuna studied his face. There was no arrogance in his words. No self-importance. He spoke simply, as if he were stating an obvious truth. "I choose this one," Yuna announced. Whispers spread through the room. Some humans looked relieved. Others looked worried. But Taiho only nodded slightly as if he had expected this. As they walked toward the shuttle, Yuna noticed that the old man Minho had followed them. He pulled Taiho aside and whispered something in his ear. Yuna could not hear the words, but she saw Taiho's reaction. His body stiffened. His hands clenched into fists. "What did he say to you?" Yuna asked, when they were alone in the shuttle. "Nothing important," Taiho replied. But Yuna had seen his hands tremble as the shuttle doors closed. And she knew he was lying. She watched him during the journey back to her world. He sat perfectly still, his eyes fixed on some distant point. He did not speak. He did not move. He barely seemed to breathe. "What are you?" she wondered. "What are all of you?" The ancient laws called humans a forbidden species, but nobody remembered why. The records were sealed. The truth was buried. Looking at Taiho now, so calm and so controlled, Yuna felt a strange chill run down her spine. He seemed harmless. He seemed gentle. But something in his stillness felt dangerous. Like the calm surface of water hiding something vast and dark below. She had made her choice. She had saved the humans from immediate death. But as the shuttle carried them toward her palace, toward her future, Yuna could not shake the feeling that she had only delayed something inevitable. She did not know what the old man had whispered. She did not know what secrets the humans carried, but she was going to find out. The wedding was held at sunset. The sky above the imperial palace burned orange and red, as if the heavens themselves were bleeding. Yuna stood at the altar in white mourning silks. In her culture, this color was worn by brides entering doomed unions. Nobody expected this marriage to bring happiness. Taiho stood across from her, dressed in simple black clothes. He had refused the ceremonial robes offered to him. He said he wanted to marry her as himself, not as a costume. The ceremony was short and cold. No music played. No guests smiled. The noble families of the empire watched from their seats with expressions of disgust and fear. When the officiant declared them married, not a single person clapped. Yuna did not care. This marriage was not about love or celebration. It was about survival. Hers, his, and 50,000 humans floating in the darkness of space. The first weeks were strange. Yuna and Taiho lived in the same quarters, but moved around each other like ghosts. They ate meals in silence. They slept in separate rooms. They barely spoke beyond simple courtesies. But Yuna watched him constantly. Taiho had a routine. He woke before dawn and exercised in the small garden attached to their quarters. He read books for hours, learning about Villari history and culture. He was polite to the servants, thanking them for every small kindness. He never raised his voice. He never complained. He seemed perfect. Too perfect. "There is something wrong with him," Nari whispered one morning as she brushed Yuna's hair. "He is too calm, too controlled. It is not natural." "Perhaps he is simply a calm person," Yuna replied. "No living creature is that calm," Nari insisted. "Especially not one married into a family that wants him dead. He should be nervous. He should be afraid. But he walks through this palace like he owns it." Yuna did not respond. But she had noticed the same thing. The noble families did not hide their hatred for Taiho. At banquets, they mocked him openly. They called him animal and primitive. They accidentally spilled drinks on his clothes and knocked food from his hands. Taiho endured all of it without reaction. He simply smiled politely and cleaned up the mess. One night, a young lord named Jisoo cornered Taiho in a hallway. Yuna watched from the shadows, curious to see what would happen. "You do not belong here, human," Jisoo said, stepping close to Taiho. "You are a pet that the princess brought home out of pity. Nothing more." Taiho looked at him calmly. "I understand your feelings, my lord. You understand nothing." Jisoo grabbed Taiho's collar. "One day, the council will come to their senses. They will void this ridiculous marriage and burn your little ship with everyone inside, and I will be there to watch." For a moment, something flickered in Taiho's eyes. It was gone so fast that Yuna almost missed it. But she saw it. Something cold, something ancient, something that made the air in the hallway feel suddenly heavy. Then Taiho smiled. "I hope that day brings you peace, my lord." Sue released him and walked away, looking confused. He had expected anger or fear. He had not expected gentleness. Why Yuna slept poorly that night. She kept thinking about what she had seen in Taiho's eyes. It had only lasted a fraction of a second. But in that moment, he had not looked like a gentle scholar. He had looked like something else entirely. 3 days later, the assassins came. Yuna woke to the sound of her door sliding open. 3 shadows slipped into her room, moving silently. Moonlight gleamed on the blades in their hands. She tried to scream, but her throat was frozen. She tried to move, but her body would not obey. Terror held her paralyzed. Then Taiho was there. He moved so fast that Yuna could barely follow. One moment he was across the room. The next moment he was between her and the assassins. His hands were empty, but he did not seem to need weapons. The first assassin died before he could raise his blade. Taiho's hand struck his throat and he crumpled silently. The second assassin swung his knife in a wide arc. Taiho stepped aside like smoke avoiding wind. He caught the man's arm, twisted, and the knife was suddenly in his own hand. The assassin fell with his own blade in his chest. The third assassin tried to run. Taiho caught him in 2 steps. There was a wet crack, and the man stopped moving forever. The whole fight lasted maybe 10 seconds. Taiho stood among the bodies, breathing quietly. He was not even sweating. His dark eyes found Yuna in the darkness. "Are you hurt?" His voice was calm, gentle, as if he had not just killed 3 men with his bare hands. "How?" Yuna whispered. "How did you do that?" Taiho looked at the bodies on her floor. For a long moment, he did not answer. Then he said, "Humans learn to survive. That is all." He would not explain further. He helped her to a safe room, called the palace guards, and answered their questions with simple, vague words. The guards seemed both grateful and terrified. They had never seen anyone move like that. After that night, Yuna could not stop thinking about what she had witnessed. Taiho was not just a calm scholar. He was something more. Something dangerous. She began searching the ancient archives for answers. Most of the files about humans were corrupted or sealed, but she found fragments here and there. Old reports from forgotten wars. Scientific studies from long-dead researchers. One phrase appeared again and again. Class Omega adaptive threat. She did not understand what it meant, but she found one file that was partially readable. It contained only a few sentences, written by some unnamed official thousands of years ago. The text said, "Do not engage. Do not provoke. Do not allow to multiply. Their bodies remember every wound. Their blood carries every lesson. What does not kill them makes them impossible to kill." Yuna read those words over and over. She thought about Taiho's impossible speed, his unnatural calm, his complete lack of fear. What does not kill them makes them impossible to kill. That night, she could not sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of the palace. Then she heard something strange. A soft, steady rhythm coming from the room where Taiho slept. She crept to his door and listened. It was his heartbeat. She could hear it through the wall, slow and strong. And as she listened, she realized something that made her blood run cold. His heartbeat was changing, adjusting, matching it, was synchronizing with her own. She stepped back from the door. Her hand pressed against her chest. Her heart was racing now, and somewhere in that dark room his heart was racing too. Perfectly matched, perfectly in tune. "What are you?" she thought. "What have I married?" The questions burned inside her. But the answers were locked away in sealed files and ancient memories. Someone had hidden the truth about humans long ago. Someone had buried their history and hoped the galaxy would forget. But Yuna was not going to forget. She was going to find the truth, no matter where it led. Because she was married to this mystery now, and whatever secrets Taiho carried in his blood, she needed to understand them. Before it was too late, Yuna returned to the human colony ship in secret. She told no one where she was going. She wore a hooded cloak and took a small shuttle meant for servants. If Hyunwoo discovered what she was doing, he would use it against her. The last dawn looked even older in the daylight. Its metal skin was covered with patches and repairs, scars from centuries of desperate survival. But the humans who greeted her at the entrance were not broken. They stood tall. They looked at her without fear. Minho was waiting for her in a small garden at the center of the ship. Real plants grew here under artificial sunlight. Children played nearby, their laughter echoing off the metal walls. "If questions," the old man said. It was not a question. "I need the truth," Yuna replied. "My archives call your species a forbidden species, a Class Omega adaptive threat." "What does that mean?" Minho sat down on a stone bench and gestured for her to join him. For a long moment, he watched the children playing. Then he spoke. "How much do you know about human history, Princess?" "Very little. Most records were destroyed or sealed." Minho nodded slowly. "That was intentional. Your ancestors did not want the galaxy to remember what they did to us." He paused, gathering his thoughts. Humans did not always live on Earth. That planet was our second home. Our first home was among the stars, long before your empire existed. Yuna frowned. "That cannot be true. The Valari Empire is 12,000 years old."
Exactly, Minho said.
"And 12,000 years ago, your ancestors waged war against us. They burned our worlds. They destroyed our civilization. They scattered the survivors into the void between galaxies, hoping we would die in the darkness." His voice was calm, but Yuna could hear ancient grief beneath the words. "Why?" she asked. "What did humans do to deserve that?" "We existed," Minho said simply, "and we refused to die." He stood up and walked toward the garden's edge. "The universe is hostile, Princess. Space is cold. Radiation is everywhere. Food is scarce. Any species that survives in the void must adapt or perish. And humans, we adapted better than anyone." "What do you mean?" Minho turned to face her. "When poison entered our bodies, we did not just survive it. We became immune to it. When disease attacked us, we learned to resist it. When enemies struck us, we became faster and stronger. Every generation passed these changes to the next. Every hardship made us harder to kill." Yuna remembered the file she had found. "What does not kill them makes them impossible to kill." "Your ancestors realized what we were becoming," Minho continued. "They saw that we could not be destroyed through normal means. Every attack only made us stronger. Every attempt to kill us only taught our bodies new ways to survive. So they decided to eliminate us completely before we became too powerful to stop." "But you survived," Yuna whispered. "We survived." Minho's voice was heavy. "Barely. For 10,000 years, we wandered the empty spaces between galaxies. We ate whatever we could find. We endured radiation that would kill any other species. We adapted to darkness, to cold, to starvation. And when we finally found Earth, a small blue planet far from anyone who remembered us, we tried to start over." "What happened to Earth?" The old man was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was barely audible. Your ancestors found us again? They destroyed our planet and killed billions of our people. This ship holds all that remains of humanity. Yuna felt sick. Her ancestors had committed genocide. They had hunted an entire species nearly to extinction and then hidden their crimes behind sealed records and forgotten laws. Why are you telling me this? She asked. If you hate us so much, why did Taiho agree to this marriage? Minho looked at her with something like pity. We do not hate you, princess. Hatred is a luxury for those who have time to waste on it. We simply want to live. Taiho volunteered because he believed you might be different from your ancestors. He saw something in your eyes when you came to choose a husband. Something like compassion. And what if he was wrong? Then we will die, Minho said, and humanity will end. But at least we will have tried. Kuna returned to the palace with her mind in chaos. She did not know what to feel. Horror at what her ancestors had done. Sympathy for the humans who had suffered so much. Fear of what they might become. That night, she found Taiho in the garden, staring at the stars. You spoke with Minho, he said without turning around. It was not a question. How did you know? You smell like the ship. I finally turned to face her. His dark eyes were unreadable. Now you understand why your people fear us. I understand what was done to you, Yuna said. I understand why you survived. But I do not understand you. Are you still changing? Still adapting? Taiho was quiet for a long moment. Then he held out his hand, palm up. Cut me, he said. What? Cut me. Use your knife. I know you carry one. Yuna hesitated, then drew the small blade she kept hidden in her sleeve. She made a shallow cut across his palm. Blood welled up, dark red in the moonlight. They watched together as the wound began to close. The bleeding stopped within seconds. The skin knitted back together before her eyes. Within a minute, there was no sign that she had ever cut him. Every wound teaches us, Taiho said softly. Every poison, every disease, every injury, our bodies remember everything, and our children inherit those memories. He closed his healed hand into a fist. Your ancestors tried to make us into monsters, Yuna. They nearly succeeded. The void changed us into something that frightens even us sometimes. Then why? Yuna struggled to find words. Why are you so gentle? If you could fight back, why do you let them mock you? Abuse you? Taiho smiled sadly. Because I choose to. We all choose to. After 10,000 years of horror, we decided that we did not want to become what your ancestors feared. Yes, we can fight. Yes, we can destroy. But we choose not to. We choose to be kind. We choose to be patient. We choose to be human, even when everything in the universe tries to make us into weapons. He reached out and took her hand gently. His touch was warm. His pulse was steady. And she realized with a shock that went through her whole body that she was not afraid of him anymore. I did not want you to fear me, Taiho said. But you needed to know the truth. You needed to know what you married. Yuna looked at their joined hands. His skin and hers. Two species that had been at war for 12,000 years, standing together in a quiet garden under distant stars. What happens now? She asked. That depends on your brother, Taiho replied. And for the first time she heard something like worry in his voice. Hyunwoo is investigating. He has spies watching you. Watching us. He is afraid of what I am, and fear makes people do terrible things. I will protect you, Yuna said. I will protect all of you. Taiho looked at her with an expression she could not read. It might have been hope. It might have been doubt. Or it might have been something else entirely. Perhaps you will, he said. Or perhaps you will need protecting yourself. Either way, I think the peace will not last much longer. He was right. The next morning, Yuna discovered that Hyunwoo had found the sealed archives. He knew everything now, and he was afraid. The Imperial War Council met in secret. Yuna was not invited. She only learned what had happened when the alarms began to scream. The sky above the palace filled with warships. Hundreds of them, forming a dark cloud that blocked out the sun. They were not pointing their weapons at any enemy. They were pointing at the last dawn. The fragile human ship that drifted peacefully in high orbit, Yuna ran through the palace corridors, her heart pounding. She found Hyunwoo in the throne room, standing before a holographic display that showed the human ship surrounded by the Imperial fleet. "What are you doing?" she screamed. Hyunwoo turned to face her. His golden eyes were cold and hard. "What our ancestors should have finished 12,000 years ago? I am ending the human threat once and for all. They are refugees. They have done nothing wrong. They exist," Hyunwoo said. "That is enough. I have seen the sealed archives, Yuna. I know what they are. Adaptive organisms that cannot be killed, bodies that evolve with every generation. If we let them settle here in 100 years, they will outnumber us. In 1,000 years, they will replace us. This is not hatred. This is survival. This is murder." Hyunwoo shrugged. "History will call it wisdom." He gave the signal. On the holographic display, Yuna watched in horror as the warships opened fire. Beams of plasma cut through the darkness, slamming into the Last Dawn's ancient hull. The ship shuddered. Explosions bloomed across its surface like flowers made of flame. "No," Yuna whispered. "No, please, no." She tried to run toward the communication center, to send a message, to do something. But palace guards caught her arms and held her in place. "Arrest my sister," Hyunwoo commanded. "She is charged with treason against the Empire. She conspired with a forbidden species and endangered our civilization." Yuna begged. "There are children on that ship. Old people. Families. There are threats on that ship," her brother replied. "And threats must be eliminated." The guards dragged her away. The last thing she saw before the doors closed was the Last Dawn burning in the holographic display. Its lights flickering and dying one by one. They put her in a cell deep beneath the palace. It was cold and dark, with walls of solid stone. A single light burned above her head, too dim to warm her. Time passed. She did not know how long. Hours. Maybe days. She heard nothing from the outside. She did not know if the humans were still alive. She did not know if Tai-Ho was still alive. Then the door opened, and guards threw Tai-Ho into the cell beside hers. He was alive, but he was changed. There were burn marks on his arms and chest, cuts across his face, dried blood in his dark hair. They had tortured him. They had tried to break him. It had not worked. Tai-Ho sat up slowly, his wounds already beginning to heal. He looked at Yuna through the bars that separated their cells, and he smiled. "Hello, wife," he said. "They are killing your people," Yuna whispered. "The fleet is destroying your ship. I know. And you are smiling." Tai-Ho leaned his head back against the stone wall. "I am smiling because they made a mistake. They attacked us. They hurt us. And now they will learn what that means." As if in answer, the palace shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "What is happening?" Yuna asked. "At the awakening," Tai-Ho replied. "When humans face extinction, something ancient wakes up inside us. Something we have carried since the days when we wandered the void. Your ancestors killed billions of us, Yuna. They scattered us across the darkness. They tried to erase us from existence, but we did not forget. Our blood did not forget. And now that blood is remembering." Another explosion shook the palace. This time, the lights went out completely. Emergency alarms began to wail. In the darkness, Yuna heard Tai-Ho stand up. She heard metal groan and twist. Then light flooded her cell as he tore the door off its hinges and threw it aside like paper. "How?" she started to ask. "No time," Tai-Ho said. He grabbed the bars of her cell and bent them apart, creating an opening large enough for her to slip through. "We need to move." They ran through the palace corridors together. Chaos surrounded them. Guards ran in every direction, shouting orders that no one followed. Fires burned in distant wings. The walls shook with continuous explosions. Through the windows, Yuna saw the Last Dawn. It was still burning, but it was also fighting back. Small craft poured from its damaged hull like angry wasps. They moved with impossible speed, dodging the plasma beams that tried to destroy them. When they reached the Imperial warships, they did not just attack. They adapted. Their shields changed frequency to block enemy weapons. Their own weapons shifted to exploit weaknesses in Imperial armor. Every second they fought, they became more dangerous. That is impossible, Yuna breathed. Ships cannot adapt like that. Human ships can, Taiho said. We built them from our own bones and blood, literally. The metal remembers just like we remember. More guards appeared ahead of them. Taiho did not slow down. He crashed through them like a wave through sand. His movements were faster than before, stronger. The burns on his skin were gone now, replaced by something harder, something that gleamed faintly in the firelight. They reached the throne room. Hyunwoo was there, surrounded by his personal guard. He held a sword in his hand, his face twisted with fear and rage. "Kill them both," he commanded. The guards raised their weapons. Yuna closed her eyes, waiting for the end, but Taiho stepped in front of her. The guards fired. The energy beams hit his chest, his arms, his legs. He staggered but did not fall. The wounds smoked for a moment, then sealed themselves. His skin darkened, hardened, adapted. "Impossible," Hunhua whispered. "Nothing can survive that." Taiho looked at him with eyes that glowed faintly in the darkness. "We survived the void. We survived genocide. We survived 10,000 years of exile. Did you really think your little guns would stop us?" He moved, not running. Something faster. One moment he was at Yuna's side. The next moment, he was among the guards. They fell around him like leaves in a storm. He did not kill them all, Yuna noticed. Some he simply disabled. Some he knocked unconscious. He was holding back, even now. Within seconds, only Hunwoo remained standing. He swung his sword at Taiho desperately. Taiho caught the blade with his bare hand. Blood ran down his fingers, but the sword stopped dead. "You should have listened to your sister," Taiho said quietly. "She tried to save you. She tried to save everyone. But you were too afraid to trust her." Hyunwoo's sword shattered. The crown prince fell to his knees, trembling. Above them, through the broken ceiling, Yuna could see the sky. The Imperial fleet was retreating. Human craft pursued them, not to destroy, but to drive them away. The last dawn still burned, but it had stopped dying. It was rebuilding itself even as she watched Taiho turn back to Yuna. He was breathing hard. His body was covered with healing wounds. But his eyes were still gentle, still human. "It is not over yet," he said. "But it will be soon." He offered her his hand. She took it without hesitation. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The battle lasted 3 days. The Imperial fleet threw everything it had at the humans. Plasma weapons, biological agents, radiation bombs designed to sterilize entire planets. Nothing worked. Every attack only made the humans stronger. Their bodies adapted. Their ships evolved. Their tactics shifted constantly, exploiting weaknesses that had not existed moments before. By the 3rd day, the fleet was in ruins. Thousands of warships drifted dead in space. The survivors had retreated to the far edges of the system, too afraid to fight and too proud to surrender. But the humans did not pursue them. Instead, the last dawn sent a single message to the Imperial Palace. The message contained only 2 words: "We talk." The Galactic Council gathered in the Great Hall, the same room where Yuna had proposed her marriage alliance. But this time, everything was different. The floating thrones were cracked and burned. Half the council members were missing, killed in the fighting, or fled to distant worlds. Hyunwoo sat in chains at the foot of the Emperor's empty throne, stripped of his rank and titles. The humans arrived without weapons. There were only 3 of them. Minho, still old and bent, but walking with new strength. Taiho, his wounds healed, his dark eyes calm. And a young woman named Jiang, who spoke for the human children. Yuna stood with them. She had refused to sit with her own people. She had chosen her side. "You tried to destroy us," Minho said to the council. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire hall. Again, just like 12,000 years ago. You burned our ship. You killed our elders. You slaughtered families who had done nothing wrong except exist. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Some looked ashamed. Others still looked afraid. By every law of justice, Minho continued, we would be right to destroy you. We could do it. We could. Your weapons have proven useless against us. Your soldiers cannot match ours. Your ships fall while ours rise. If we wanted revenge, there is nothing you could do to stop us. Silence filled the hall. Everyone waited for the killing blow. But Minho only sighed, suddenly looking very old and very tired. We do not want revenge, he said. We want peace. Whispers spread through the council. Yuna could see confusion on their faces. They had expected war. They had expected demands. They had not expected forgiveness. Your ancestors tried to destroy us because they feared what we might become, Minho continued. They were right to be afraid. In the void, we became something terrifying. Our bodies adapted to survive anything. Our minds learned to endure any hardship. We became weapons forged in darkness. He paused, looking at the humans beside him, at Taiho, at Jiang, at the faces of a species that had survived the impossible. But we also became something else, he said. We became a people who understand suffering, who know what it means to lose everything, who have learned that hatred only creates more darkness. He turned back to the council. 10,000 years ago, we chose to stay human, not just in body, but in spirit. We chose kindness over cruelty, patience over rage, hope over despair. That choice is the one thing we will never adapt away. Taiho stepped forward. He looked at Haiyanwu, still kneeling in chains. You asked why we were forbidden, Taihu said. Now you know. We were forbidden because we cannot be destroyed. Every attack makes us stronger. Every weapon becomes useless. Every poison becomes medicine. Given enough time, we could conquer the galaxy. We could rule over every species. We could become the very monsters you feared. He knelt down, bringing his eyes level with Haiyanwu's.
Ow!
But we choose not to. That is the difference between us and you. You had the power to show mercy, and you chose destruction. We have the power to take revenge, and we choose peace. Power without wisdom is nothing. Strength without kindness is just another form of weakness. Hyunwoo stared at him, his golden eyes filled with something complicated. Fear, yes. But also the first faint traces of shame. Minsho spoke again, addressing the entire council. We propose a new alliance. Not a marriage to bind our fates, but a treaty between equals. Give us a world where we can live. Trade with us. Learn from us. Let our children grow up knowing the stars instead of the void. And we will share our knowledge with you. We will help you build ships that can heal themselves. We will teach you medicines that can cure any disease. We will be your partners, not your enemies. And if we refuse? One council member asked, his voice trembling. Minho smiled sadly. Then we will leave. We will take our ship and vanish into the darkness between galaxies as we did before. We will survive as we always survive. But you will have lost the chance for something better. You will have chosen fear over hope. The council debated for many hours. Yuna stayed with the humans, waiting. Taiho stood beside her, his hand warm in hers. What if they refuse? She whispered. Then we go, Taiho replied. And you come with us if you want? Yuna looked at him surprised. You would take me, even though my people tried to kill you? You are not your people, Taiho said. You chose kindness when everyone around you chose hatred. You risked your life to save strangers? That makes you family, Yuna. Not blood. Not marriage. Choice. When the council finally reached its decision, it was nearly dawn. The eldest surviving member rose from his cracked throne and spoke in a voice heavy with exhaustion. The proposal is accepted, he said. Humanity will be granted a homeworld within Valari space. The forbidden species classification is lifted. From this day forward, humans are our allies. Yuna felt tears running down her face. Beside her, Jiang was crying too, clutching Minho's arm. Even Taiho's calm face showed something like relief. It was over. After 12,000 years of fear and hatred, it was finally over. The humans chose a small world orbiting a yellow sun, similar to the Earth they had lost. They called it New Dawn. It was a place of forests and oceans, mountains and rivers. A place where their children could run under open skies instead of metal ceilings. Yuna went with them. She stood on the bridge of the last dawn as it descended through the atmosphere of their new home. The ship had been repaired, its wounds healed, its systems rebuilt. It would land one final time and become the heart of their first city. Taiho stood beside her, watching the green world grow larger in the view screen. What will you become now? Yuna asked him. Without enemies to fight, without hardship to survive, what will humans adapt into? Taiho thought about the question for a long moment. Below them, children pressed their faces against windows, pointing at the clouds and laughing. I do not know, he said finally. For 10,000 years we adapted to survive. Every change was forced on us by pain and fear. But now, he smiled, the first truly peaceful smile she had ever seen from him. Now we get to choose. We get to adapt to joy instead of suffering, to love instead of loss, to hope instead of despair. That sounds beautiful, Yuna said. It sounds terrifying, Taiho admitted. We have never had this before. We do not know what we will become when we are not fighting to survive. But that is what makes it wonderful. For the first time in our history, we get to find out. The ship touched down gently on soft green grass. The doors opened, and fresh air filled the corridors. Humans stepped out onto their new world, some crying, some laughing, all of them alive with hope. Yuna walked with Taiho into the sunlight. She was no longer a princess of the Valari Empire. She was something new, something she was still learning to understand. Behind them, the great ship settled into its final rest. Before them, a world waited to be explored. Yuna had married a human to stop a war. She had stayed because she loved one. And standing here, on this green world under a yellow sun, she finally understood why the galaxy had been so afraid. Not because of what humans were, but because of what they could become when given the chance to simply live. The future stretched out before them. It's vast and unknown. And for the first time in 12,000 years, it belonged to them.